Hello and welcome back to our channel. In the course of our last few videos, we've looked at a number of key ideas to help you maximize the chance that you succeed with investment. As I've put it several times, these ideas can help you figure out how to invest so that crashes don't need to matter. Please do check these videos out if you've not had a chance yet, as they're a key part of this free course in financial freedom that we've been producing over the last several months on this channel. And as a quick recap, these ideas have included, firstly, investing for the long run, or ideally the very long run. Secondly, investing regularly each month and automating your investments. Thirdly, ignoring the news, something that's very poorly understood, and as a result of that, sticking to your guns over long periods of time. And fourthly, using an elegant approach to investment that we call 100 minus your age. And as a reminder, 100 minus your age helps you get your mix of aggressive as against defensive investments roughly right based on your age. This approach is key to maximizing your returns over a lifetime of investing and also to minimizing the risk of a catastrophic loss. And this becomes particularly important the closer you get to retirement for reasons we've explained. Please do check out our video on this subject to remind yourself how and why this works, if only because it's a really elegant and helpful way to think about investment big picture, particularly if you're a DIY investor. So once you understand the idea of 100 minus your age, you're ready to allocate what you can afford to invest each month to aggressive and defensive assets. And today we begin to look at the specifics of what these might be. And we begin with how you might approach the aggressive bit. So there are a vast number of things you can invest in which could be described as aggressive, by which I mean higher risk and hopefully higher reward as a result, theoretically at least. And two other points I've made over time and in this video series are the importance of keeping things simple and my genuine belief that long-run investment success is probably something like 90% admin and actually only about 10% fund selection. So let's look at a really simple approach you might take with the aggressive bit of your portfolio with your investments. And arguably, the very simplest thing you might do here would be to own a large stock market of some kind. And one of the biggest and most liquid of these, and most famous, is America's S&P 500, which, as I'm sure many of you know by now, includes no fewer than 500 of the biggest companies in America. As we've seen in a number of our previous videos, the S&P has averaged more than 10% annual returns for more than a century, going all the way back to 1923. And as I've also said many times, the reason that the US stock market has delivered these returns is because of human progress, something I describe as the most important investment theme in history. This is why stock market investment can be so powerful, because you can benefit financially from the growth and technological progress that we make as a species overall. And this is something that's very real. And as a reminder, this is very different to putting money into something like crypto, as I explained in our most recent video. This all having been said, it is really, really important to realize that this 10% annualized return is an average return over many years and absolutely not an interest rate. You do not get and will not get 10% a year every year reliably when you invest in the stock market. This is because the returns are volatile. Stock markets go up and down a great deal over time. So some years you might be up by 20 or even 30%, and now and then, usually about every decade or so, there will be a big crash and the market can fall as much as 50%, as it did from about March 2007 to March 2009, for example. This is why it is so important to understand everything that we've been covering in this video series, and to invest for the very long run, invest regularly, ignore the news, and ensure that you have roughly the right percentage of your money in the stock market based roughly on your age and stage. These are the ideas we've looked at over the last many weeks and months. And if you understand these topics properly, you can get a great result out of stock market investment over time. If you don't, it can be dangerous and you can lose money. As ever, knowledge is power. So please do make sure that you've taken account of all of these ideas before you get involved. So the S&P 500 has returned an average of more than 10% for more than a century. Because of the incredible power of compounding, something we've also looked at in a previous video, these kinds of returns can have a life-changing impact on your ability to become wealthy. You could just invest the aggressive proportion of your money in the S&P 500 each month and you're done. And this also has the advantage that it's very easy to do and to get set up. You only need to buy an ETF on the S&P 500 and you can set up a direct debit to do that every month with a good quality stockbroker or investment platform. And by the way, if you want a reminder of what an ETF is or an exchange traded fund, please do check out our Markets Make Millionaires and How to Buy Entire Markets videos from a few months ago. Before you decide to do this, however, i.e. invest in the S&P 500 each month, there are a few things worth thinking about which might suggest another alternative. And the first point to make here is that the success of the US stock market, particularly in recent years, has had a great deal to do with one structural theme, namely technology, or simply tech. This is most obvious when you consider the fact that 7 of the biggest companies in the US, and in fact in the world and in history, are Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, i.e. Google, Nvidia, Tesla, and Meta, or Facebook. But it's also the reason why companies like JP Morgan, Visa, MasterCard, AT&T, and Intel are all also in the top few and are each huge companies too, at the time of shooting this video at least. This has meant that the top 50 companies in the S&P 500, i.e. only the top 10% of those 500 companies by number, account for nearly half of the value of the index, and the top 10 stocks for more than a third of it. The last 10 years in particular have been characterized by a long and strong period of American exceptionalism and of concentration in stock market performance. This has been a function of just how much our lives and our economies have been changed by the tech industry. And for what it's worth, I think this American exceptionalism and the concentration of stock market performance in the hands of a few mega cap tech stocks could well continue. But I would argue that it is something to be careful about, and also that the rest of the world might eventually catch up. There are already several companies from places like Asia and Europe that are in the top few largest companies in the world today. These include Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company in Taiwan, Novo Nordisk in Denmark, Tencent in China, LVMH in France, Samsung in Korea, ASML in the Netherlands, and quite a few more elsewhere, for example. There is no guarantee that all of the best and biggest companies in the world will come almost entirely from America in the decades ahead. America has certainly dominated in this respect roughly since the end of the Second World War for all sorts of reasons, but many of these may not persist in future. At some point, some of the factors that have driven the disproportionate success of US shares may even go into reverse. So given how dominant the US has been for the last decade, and given the direction of travel in places like China, Europe, India, Latin America, the Middle East, and Africa, might it be better to hedge our bets a bit? And an easy way to do this is just to use a broader and more global stock market index than the S&P 500. So returning to our keeping things simple idea, we might then look for some of the biggest and most liquid global equity indices in the world. In doing so, we need look no further than 2 companies with large global equity indices, MSCI and FTSE. So MSCI, Morgan Stanley Capital International, and FTSE are companies which make indices. The MSCI World Index is made up of around 1,500 of the biggest companies in the world, and those are all from all over the developed world. The MSCI All Country World Index includes not far off 3,000 companies, and it includes companies from the developing world as well as the developed world. And then there is also the FTSE All World Index, which includes even more companies from all over the world, both developed and developing, and it has more than 4,000 companies in the index at the time of writing. Crucially, it's possible to buy exchange-traded funds that track each of these various indices. And at the time of shooting this video, over the last 5 to 10 years or so, these various big global indices have returned somewhere between 8 and 13% a year on average, depending on which one you're looking at. So arguably a solid idea for the aggressive bit of your money each month is just to buy the S&P 500 or one of these big global indices, depending on your own personal preference. My own view is that one of the MSCI World or FTSE All-World indices might be a better option in the years ahead, given that at least some of the success stories of the next 10 or 20 plus years might come from places other than the US. This doesn't mean I will be right, of course, and you will have to form your own view. For what it's worth, US shares make up a very significant chunk of all of those various global indices anyway, so to a certain extent you can have your cake and eat it here, given that you'll still have a big exposure to US shares if you choose to use one of the global indices. So all of the above having been said, as a reminder of why any of these sorts of investments should absolutely only sit in the aggressive proportion of what you save and invest each month, please do remember that all of these indices will fall a long way in a crash. It's very important to understand that. Whilst these sorts of investments could give you roughly 10% returns on average over long periods of time, and even 20 to 30% years now and then, they can and will have big down years every now and then. And this needn't be a problem for your ability to grow wealth over time in the long run if you're properly and appropriately diversified, so by using something like 100 minus your age, of course. If you're buying regularly every month over many years, which means in a crash you continue to buy at the lows, and if you have a plan, stick to your guns and ignore the news. But you really must have just such a plan, and you really must stick to it over long periods of time, as we've covered in lots of our other videos. When it comes to how you might get the aggressive proportion of your investment capital to work, I would argue that one of these large index funds will do a perfectly good job for the majority of people. Each of them will give you exposure to hundreds or even thousands of companies and to global growth and human progress by extension. They are large and liquid, very cheap to buy, and can be purchased in ISA and pension accounts. Choosing an ETF or exchange-traded fund that tracks one or other of these indices keeps things really nice and simple, and this more than likely increases the probability that you'll actually do something and get going, another crucial point. So that's it for today. In our next video, we'll begin to look at some ideas for the more defensive investments. And as ever, if you want to ensure that you're one of the first to see our videos when they're published, please do click the subscribe and bell buttons. And also, if you'd like to hear more from me, please do feel free to connect with me on any or all of LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter or X. And also worth mentioning, we do, of course, have a free email service, which you can subscribe to from the Plain English Finance website. So that's it for now. Until next time, I wish you the very best.